Welcome, everybody, to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive. And I am digging into emotions on my series, The Six Scariest Emotions. So before I get into that, I just want to say the Heal Your Hunger Show is clearly about something other than food and weight. It's about just the life of the emotional eater, what it takes to heal from emotional eating, why it is we eat in the first place, overeat that is, and how to stop. So it's really important that we dig into many topics around living. I often say it's a living problem, not an eating problem. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to talk about our emotions, the emotions that trip us up and drive us to eat, starting with anger. There are 6 of them. Today's show is on anger, but I really welcome you. I welcome you if you like and are drawn to the deeper conversation. Stop looking for recipes and food plans and start looking for solutions to your life and getting along in life. Because guess what? That's when we eat. We eat when we're having struggles with life. All right. Also, if you haven't taken the quiz, I invite you to take the quiz, which is on the website, healyourhunger.com. Right there on the homepage, you can take a free quiz, which will tell you if you're an emotional eater or a food addict or somewhere in between. Take that quiz, get your personalized score. Okay? All right, on with the show. This is a show about anger. This is an episode about probably the scariest or one of the scariest emotions for emotional eaters, and the thing that we often use food to stuff, and that's the emotion of anger. Anger is a challenge for emotional eaters. You know, we don't want to feel angry. It's scary to feel angry. Anger is a natural emotion, but for emotional eaters, it feels dangerous and unmanageable because you can get out of control. You can get out of control. And so we use food for anger management. We suppress the emotion of anger instead of processing it, and we do that with food. Now, if you're wondering why you're always drawn to the heavier foods like sugar and processed carbs, and it's just never salad that you think to binge on, that's because the heavier foods are the ones that tamp down our emotions. That's what emotional eating is. We eat to feel better. We use food for emotional management. And one of the things that really scares us is being out of control with anger. That's why anger is a tough one, because you can get out of control with anger, like really easily, right? And we've all been out of control with anger. Feeling out of control is really scary for us in particular. I'm sure most people don't want to feel out of control. You know, that's natural. But for us, it's extra scary. Now, why is that? Why is anger so scary? Well, first of all, because when and if we get angry, we might spiral into behaviors or words that we might regret. As emotional eaters, regret is hard. Feeling like we messed up is hard. We tend to be perfectionistic, and if we were to say the wrong thing, it's terrible for us because then we're not perfect. Then somebody might see a crack in our armor of perfection. So we, again, use food to stay in control all the time to keep that facade of perfection. And we don't want to get anywhere near anger because that facade might crack if we're out of control with anger. Now, another reason why anger is so scary for us is because we are people pleasers. If you read my book, you know about the anatomy of the emotional eater, which is 24 personality traits that make up the emotional eater's personality. I mean, there's other traits, but these are like the core 24. I've never said that before, the core 24. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. So these 24 traits are ways that we act and ways that we're motivated. And it's very common for like across the board for emotional eaters. Like we have so many of these traits, and I had these traits. That's how I happened to write about and understand about the personality profile of the emotional eater. The top trait for emotional eaters is people pleasing. Yes, we are consummate people pleasers, and I was the worst offender. As emotional eaters, we're people pleasers because as children, it goes way back. As children, we needed to be people pleasers. So many emotional eaters grew up with alcoholism, with rageaholics, with some kind of dysfunction, where to be a people pleaser was to survive. Like when you have an alcoholic, raging parent, you better start doing some pleasing. Otherwise, you could get your ass kicked, right? So we managed the chaos in our homes by pleasing mom and dad, being do-gooders, right? As emotional eaters in our youth, growing up in homes where there was a lot of uncertainty and possibly abuse, we learned to people please, to keep the peace, to keep certain things from happening that were dangerous or scary, and to control people, right? If we could keep that alcoholic happy, we could keep that alcoholic from raging and abusing somebody. So we learned it as a young age as a coping tool, but then it stuck to us and we brought it into our adulthood, and then it backfired. It saved our lives as children. People pleasing backfires as adults because we are always trying to make people happy, and we're stuffing our own emotions like anger with food, and we're exhausted and we're resentful, and it fuels our eating. So we're people pleasers, and anger, threatens to ruin the facade, right? If we get out of control with anger, it's like, oh no, she isn't that perfect person after all. Oh no, she isn't so nice after all. And as emotional eaters, we need people to think a certain way about us. We derive a sense of security and self-esteem and well-being from other people's approval. We don't have validation for ourselves, so we look for it from Sally and Roger and Kenneth and John and Bill and Susie, right? We're always looking outside of ourselves. Will you approve of me? Will you validate me? Will you make me feel okay? We don't have that sense of worth inside of us. We get it from outside of us. And if we blow it, we're not going to feel okay. So food becomes the lid that keeps anger from boiling over. Eating literally stuffs the anger down. It keeps it suppressed and manageable. And all those sweets and carbs and pasta and bread and cookies and ice cream, it works. It gives us a sense of comfort, and it numbs us out. And it makes us forget that we were even angry. But the angrier we are, the more food we need to keep it tamped down. So it's a problem for us because as emotional eaters, we're pretty damn angry. Why? Because as people pleasers, we have stuffed our feelings forever. People say, are you okay with that shitty treatment I just gave you? And we say, oh, it's okay. It's okay. Ha ha ha. We're fine. And I don't know if you've ever heard about the acronym FINE, but it means effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So don't ever tell somebody you're fine, all right? Because you're really saying something else. So we tell people we're fine. We have a smile plastered on our face, and inside we are seething. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why we sabotage weight loss, because when you stop overeating, when you start losing weight, all the feelings that you were using food to numb, they thaw. They come to the surface, and then you don't have a way to deal with it or to keep it stuffed down. And so you go back to the food. We've all done it, right? So when we stop overeating, that unresolved anger resurfaces. It's raw, it's unfiltered, it's scary. And this is why we've gone back to the food time and time again, because we don't have a healthy way to deal with those emotions that come to the surface after we stop stuffing them with food. Now, I want to talk to you about the image of being nice. Many emotional eaters work hard to maintain that image, right? That image is everything to us. That's how we stay safe. That's how we stay feeling like we're okay, because everybody's approving of us when we're so nice. But nice is backfiring on us. How many pounds of nice are you wearing on your body? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100? Emotional eaters are some of the nicest people, but it's not an authentic nice. I mean, yes, we're good people, but we're also stuffing our anger. And we're wearing that nice in the form of many, many excess pounds. And what happens when we stuff our anger is we feel like we're living a double life. But we have anger and resentment on the inside and a forced smile saying everything's fine on the outside. And that has to change, friends. That has to change. We have to stop suppressing our anger because it's leading us to feel inauthentic. And you might be thinking, well, what am I going to do? Just blow all the time? Get angry at everybody? No, there's a better way. But suppressing anger leads to a sense of isolation, a sense that we're phonies. If people really knew us, they wouldn't like us. And also it becomes difficult to form deep connections because we're afraid that our facade is going to crack. If we get too close, somebody's going to see us for who we really are, which is flawed, angry, resentful. And again, that will threaten our sense of being okay because our sense of being okay is built on that facade of people thinking we're fabulous. We're just always so agreeable. So moving forward, what are we going to do about this? Well, first of all, we have to acknowledge and release the anger in a healthy way. First of all, accept that anger is a natural emotion. It's actually a secondary emotion. A lot of times, it's not really anger. If you dig into it, it's fear. Oftentimes, anger is actually a mask for fear. Fear that we're not going to be okay. Fear that we're not going to be loved. Fear that things aren't going to work out. And then we get angry because anger feels stronger and more powerful. It's hard to feel afraid because it's vulnerable. We feel vulnerable when we feel afraid. So we mask it with anger and screw them, right? If we're threatened or if somebody cuts us off on the road, our first reaction is anger. But again, there's fear underneath there, right? Fear that we're not going to be okay, fear we're going to get hit, we're going to have an accident. So look for the fear. But understand that anger isn't a bad emotion. It's natural to feel angry at certain situations, but it's how we process that emotion that matters. So let's make sure to explore healthy ways to release anger. One of my favorite ways is through journaling, literally writing out my anger. And I will do that. I literally did that today. I was feeling sad, I was feeling scared, and I wrote my feelings and it came out as anger. I'm still angry that my former spouse died. I miss him. I'm angry that I don't communicate with him anymore. I miss him. I want to talk to him. And I want him to talk to me from the other side. Not happening. You can check out my former podcast on death. But anyway, journaling is great. You get the feelings out. You get them off of you. Also, talking with somebody who you can trust. A friend who's trustworthy, a therapist that will keep your confidence, somebody who's not going to judge you for feeling angry. A lot of times we don't want to acknowledge our anger because we're judging ourselves thinking we shouldn't be angry. Don't should on yourself. You feel how you feel. It's okay to feel anger. And if you're in grief, anger is one of the 5 steps of grief. It's one of the stages. Okay, so you feel how you feel. Don't judge yourself for it. Don't diminish the importance of acknowledging that emotion. Feelings flow when we let them. If you let your feelings flow by acknowledging each one, they will come and they will go. So pause when you feel anger coming up. Pause. Understand what's triggering you and explore that. Explore it on paper by writing it out. But don't say, I shouldn't feel this way, because that's not going to keep you from feeling it. And all you're going to do is sublimate it and then pour food over it. Really important. Practice small, safe expressions of anger in order to build your confidence around just even acknowledging anger. Talk it over with your spouse. Say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean. And that's also why I like to write, because when I write the angry feelings out, I get the heat out. And then I can have a reasonable, rational conversation with the person I might have feelings of anger around. Food is not a healthy coping mechanism. Don't stuff your anger with food. Use healthy emotional tools. There are also ways that you can get rid of anger, like physically. You can punch a pillow. You can go for a jog. You can bang a drum. You can dance, blare the music and dance it out. So to recap, anger isn't something to fear. It's a natural emotion, but it is something to be processed and channeled constructively. I also want to say that prayer is very helpful as well. Write about it, talk about it, and pray about it. Pray when you're struggling with feelings of anger. Remember, all emotions are good. They're just emotions, and they need to be honored. They need to be expressed in a healthy way, honored, and not stuffed with food. I want to invite you to comment in the Facebook group, The Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating. Let's have a conversation about anger, because it is a scary emotion for us. So if you go to the Facebook group, we'll be talking about it there, because we need to talk about it. We need to normalize this emotion and realize we don't have to be afraid of it. We don't have to be a slave to it. We can deal with it in a constructive way and live a happy life and incorporate all emotions as part of our living experience. On the next episode, I'll be doing a deep dive on shame, another scary emotion. Thanks so much for listening. I love you so much. I'll catch you on the next show. If you're ready to get off the dieting roller coaster ride and finally make peace with food and with your body, talk to a Heal Your Hunger mentor about what steps you need to take based on your own history with food and weight. Go to healyourhunger.com and register for an emotional eating breakthrough session and see how fast you can experience real change. It's a complimentary evaluation, but there are limited spots available. So go to healyourhunger.com and register to speak with a mentor today.